Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another installment of our admissions interview series. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Shannon Donnelly. I'm one of the counselors here at Westmar Central, and today we are joined by Eric from North Carolina State. So, Eric, why don't you take it away and tell us a little bit about you and your school?
Absolutely. Shanna, thanks for having us and inviting us to do this. Super excited to be here to have this opportunity to talk a little bit about NC State. So I guess I can start off by introducing myself. My name is Eric Tradeup, and I am the Regional Assistant Director for NC State. More specifically, I work and provide service to the students in the Northeast, as might be expected from the title, and more specifically, it's going to be the New England and then the Mid-Atlantic region. So that would include your students at your school. I've been at NC State for actually less than a year, but I've been in admissions forever. I am certainly, I guess, consider myself to be fairly seasoned, and really my favorite part is helping students sort of achieve their dreams and help them get from point A to point B and sort of and share that success with them. A little bit about us, and I know we're going to do kind of a deeper dive here in a little bit with regards to specifics about the institution, but just kind of a broad overview. We are located in Raleigh, North Carolina, which I think is kind of the perfect location. We are, of course, the warmer weather kind of speaks for itself, but we are about a mile from downtown Raleigh. So we do have access to what I think are some, pretty cool tech companies and resources being adjacent to Research Triangle Park. But then as far as kind of more the geographic, location, we're about 3 hours from the beach, about 3 hours from the mountains. And so kind of the best of all worlds, I think, as it relates.
Sounds like it. I love that. So tell us a little bit about your favorite aspect of NC State.
I think the thing, whenever I talk to students, I talk a little bit about my experience when I was getting ready to go to college. And one of the things that I sort of recognized was that a lot of the students in my class weren't sure where they were going to go. And so there was a university about 20 or 30 minutes away that the large majority of my classmates went to. And we all kind of talked about it as, oh, you're going to the 13th grade. And that's how we thought of this university. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that the students would just commute. They would go and take their classes, and then they'd come home at night and all that. I think one of the neat things about us is we're kind of the opposite. We're Wisconsin's residential campus. And so our students our freshmen are required to live on campus. And I think there's so much energy and so much activity and things that are happening throughout the week and on the weekends. And I think that community is so cool and so need to be a part of. While we're located in Raleigh, when you're on campus, you feel like you're in this whole other world or whole other community. You don't really realize that there is a pretty large city just a mile down the road. So I think that's really one of my favorite things, is having that traditional college campus experience. There's so much energy and excitement on campus and so many things that are always happening.
I think that's so huge. And that's something that I know I definitely hear a lot, is students who want that traditional campus feel, but also want access to something more. Maybe they don't want to be in the middle of nowhere, quote unquote, because that's kind of where we are in our high school. So that sounds like the perfect, balance of everything. And you're still so close to even, your beach and your mountains, as you said before. So I guess, like, what is the campus culture like? What are students doing on weekends?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot going on. So we are, one of the things we are is we have the Division I athletics, and so that is so much a part of the culture. And I think about, like, yes, we have the Division I athletics, but they're also pretty good, and so that's exciting too. I know the football team was ranked last year, this past season. The men's basketball team is currently ranked in the top 25, and so I think there is that energy, and not everybody's going to love sports, and so there's theater and different musical performances and things like that on campus. And then there's over 600 clubs and organizations. So the students are really able to find their place. They're able to find activities and things that they might share an interest with other students, and so I think that's pretty cool as well. Greek life shapes about 15% of our student population.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
I said, okay, it's not a huge amount, but
Right.
something to do if you want to.
Exactly. I love that number. I think it's, if that's something that you want to be involved in and you're seeking that opportunity, I think the presence is there, the opportunities are there. But if it's not really your thing, you don't feel like you're missing out or you're left out. And so I think it's just like the right number.
I think, yeah, agreed. Let's talk about some of the fun traditions. I think that's one of my favorite questions to ask admissions people is like, what's exciting and different about your school? So what are some of the funky things you guys do?
Okay, so I will start with one I think is maybe not that exciting, but if anybody's watching this and they end up on campus, they'll understand it. Whenever we have like a major, the thing that comes to mind most often is if we have a major win or victory in sports, we light what's known as our bell tower in red, and you can see the bell tower pretty much anywhere on campus, and so that's kind of cool, and it extends beyond that. When faculty have awards or accomplishments or recognition or things like that, we'll light the bell tower red. So it extends beyond athletics, but really if there's anything major that happens as it relates to campus and something that we're proud of, we light the bell tower red. It seems like it happens pretty often. So that's cool, I think.
That is a good thing. I love that.
One of the things that I think is kind of unique to campus is that we have what's known as a freedom expression tunnel. And it's a space on campus where students, for lack of a better phrase or term, are encouraged to engage in graffiti. And so there's this tunnel and they can paint messages, spray paint messages, whatever message they want to share. And I like to tell students, something you have to do once while you're a student, and you can spray paint like happy birthday or good luck on your interview or whatever message you want to for your friends. The key is that you have to encourage your friends to go through that tunnel because it changes over so quickly and so rapidly.
That is so cool. I've never heard that before, and I absolutely love that. That's really cute.
Yeah, it's neat to see, and every time you go through, it looks completely different, and people are really respectful, which we appreciate as well. The third that I think is really cool, we have what's known as the Krispy Kreme Challenge. And I imagine, most folks know about Krispy Kreme donuts.
Mm-hmm.
So what this is, and this is not something I've ever done, but I understand that this is, I got to qualify this. I think this is a thing that most students feel like they have to do before they graduate. So every February, students participate in this. So it just happened. You run 2.5 miles from the bell tower to the local Krispy Kreme. You then eat a dozen donuts, and then you run 2.5 miles back to campus. And this is supposed to happen in an hour. Yeah, so this is the thing.
The running part, it seems hard to me. The eating part seems like I could get on board with that. But then the running back.
After with a dozen donuts in your stomach.
A dozen donuts. That's dedication.
It
I'm
is.
sure Krispy Kreme loves that.
Yeah, it's good promotional, and it's fun. The students like it, and there's levels of participation. So if you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna walk, get my donuts and walk back or whatever, that's fine too. But it's something that you really need to do.
That is so different. That's very cute. I think you have to partake at some point just so you can share your own experience.
I know, I do. I need to, and there will be not running after eating a dozen donuts. No. So I can assure you that.
Understood. Okay, so academic wise, let's talk about some of the top majors at NC State. So for example, if I'm a student and I want to major in blank, I definitely need to take a look at NC State.
Okay. Sure. Okay, cool. So we do offer over 100 majors. So I can start by saying that. But to answer that question, I think what we are probably best or most known for is engineering.
Okay.
So, what we do in engineering, it has an experience similar to a few other majors in that we have 16 areas of engineering. And as a freshman, you're going to come in, you apply directly to the engineering program. You come in and you get exposure to the 16 different areas. And then at the end of your freshman year, you can decide which one is the right fit for you. And you may very well come in and say, you know what? I want mechanical engineering. I don't want to do these other 15 areas. We're still going to kind of give you that sampling. And then at the end, if you're like mechanical engineering, then you're on that course. And, as often as not, people will say, I didn't know this nuclear engineering thing was a thing. We actually have a nuclear reactor on campus.
Right.
And so, people get that sampling, they get that exposure. And a lot of times they may change course. Within engineering, that also includes computer science. So that's part of that umbrella.
That is so important. You like the word exposure period, and I think we talk about that a lot here, and we definitely have a lot of students leaving us to go on to an engineering program, right? But how many schools have different types of engineering? High schools have different types of engineering to expose our students to. So
right.
That is the exact type of program I think many kids are looking for. So I love to hear that. That's very cool.
Yeah, and we do that with a couple of other majors. One's going to be the Pool College of Management. So folks that are thinking about business, you get exposure to business administration and the areas under that. So marketing management, HR, supply chain, things like that. And then accounting and economics. And then again, based on what you're seeing in that sampling, you can decide which path you want to take. We also do that with life sciences first year. So like biology, microbiology, things like that, zoology. Students can then, make those choices. And then we also have a pretty strong presence of exploratory studies, or, folks might know of that as undecided. Where you can come in and basically we're going to try to help you figure out what you want to do. And it's not so much undecided as let us know what you decide, but it's, I think, fairly deliberate in our actions with the students. It's very advising intensive, job shadowing, interviews, career interviews. And then, we also do some aptitude testing and things like that to kind of figure out where the students' interests are and skill sets and how that might line up with a career and what major might help get them there.
Thank you for explaining that. I think a lot of kids don't know what that means. Going into a program that is undecided or exploratory studies is, we're hearing that more and more. Yeah, that program's fatal. But yeah, how many 17, 18-year-olds know exactly what they want to do with the rest of their lives? So having really deliberate programs like that, I think, is just perfect.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I think
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, I was going to say, I think I heard a study once that like 75% of students change their majors while they're in school. So it's, really something that we, feel really good about. And, some other sort of unique programs that we offer, I think, are fashion and textiles, things like that, animal science. We have a fairly strong ag program as well. So just wanted to throw those out there.
That's so cool.
Kind of diverse opportunities.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I know you're not financial aid, but obviously finances always come up in a conversation about college. And we hear a lot about sticker price versus actual price and what parents and students are actually paying to go to college. So can you tell us a little bit about tuition and what a typical financial aid package might look like from NC State?
Yes, I can definitely in broad strokes here on that one. So students, would be considered out of state. And so out of state tuition runs roughly about $30,000 a year for tuition and fees. On top of that would be your housing and meal plans. So generally ballpark, you're looking at about $45,000 a year. Some things that I like to tell students just to sort of to be thinking about. One that I think is really critically important. And if I could, really emphasize anything in my conversation today, it would probably be the importance of applying what's known as early action. And that is for us, application submitted by November 1st.
Okay.
Alongside that, there are some scholarship opportunities, one of which is called the Park Scholarship, which also carries a November 1st application deadline. And it is separate from the Common App, the Park Scholarship application, but it is really, I think, in the student's best interest to follow through with those pieces by November 1st. The Park Scholarship is probably as maybe what would be described as our most lucrative scholarship, and it is as close to a full ride as we offer. Once
Okay.
students are admitted, we invite them to apply for another sort of pool of scholarships through what's known as PAC Assist. And again, I think there is such an advantage to being admitted early, so you can get into that PAC Assist sort of portal and start working that process a little bit, as you go. And then, of course, as you know, the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is going to be important to help students meet cost of attendance as well. And so, as
Absolutely.
far as the financial aid packages go, they're going to look at your scholarships and things like that, but then they're going to help kind of fill that gap. And some can be in grants, and then others can be in the form of loans and that sort of thing.
Of course, of course. So for you guys, then it's a separate application to get some of that money, right? It's not all part of the Common App. So when you're accepted, you're not necessarily going to receive with your acceptance a financial package. That's going to come separate with additional kind of stipulations and deadlines and that kind of thing. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
Cool. So tell me, like, what kind of student you typically accept? What do their test scores look like, GPA, etc.?
It is, yeah. And, I think the thing for us is we're pretty competitive. So we do a holistic review. So we are looking at, of course, academics is going to be kind of the foundation of that. Generally speaking, we're looking for students, not so much we're looking at GPA, but we're looking for mostly A's and B's, probably more A's than B's, is kind of the advice that I will give to students.
Sure.
I strongly encourage students to challenge themselves academically, take advantage of what your high school offers to you. And by that, I mean AP, IB, dual credit, honors classes, really, challenge yourself in that way. If you are thinking one of the STEM majors, then, I think as much math and science coursework as possible. One of the things that I think I saw more this year than in the past is the importance of pre-calculus as almost a must, and then if possible calculus beyond that. So I always like to kind of encourage students to stay the course on that. And then beyond that, we're going to look at extracurriculars and what you're involved in. We read those essays. Those are all part of it. As far as that goes, we are test optional. So, at least for right now, for the current applicant pool, for next year's seniors that are going to be applying to start with us in 2024, we are test optional. About half of our students have submitted test scores, about half have not. That was last year's data. I think the numbers anecdotally are lower as far as those that are submitting test scores this year. So I think that seems to be where we're headed. I would be surprised if we change course and come back and start requiring them.
So does applying test optional impact scholarship monies in any way, or no?
Not at all. No, because we are test optional. That's not even on the table. And when we review applications and the test scores are there, if they're not as strong, we generally aren't going to hold that against students. So really, it is only just used to help them. I know personally, when I review an application, I make a note if it's a good test score. If it's not, I just kind of move on. And we don't wonder why a student isn't submitting test scores. It's not something that's even part of our mindset either.
Nice. That's really good to know. It takes some of the pressure off of, the whole testing situation. Now, before you mentioned the importance of the academics and kind of taking advantage of what the high school has to offer. So we are an IB World School. We offer 2 different IB programs. So let's say a student is at our school and is not taking advantage of an IB program. Will that reflect poorly upon them?
Poorly is a word that I'm not sure I would
Too
jump on.
strong. Too strong.
Yeah, maybe. So what we do is and maybe this will answer your question. We do look at the school profile, and we kind of assess what the full scope of opportunities are. So the student is sort of compared within a context of their school. So, we certainly look at them individually, but then we also will look at them, if student A has several higher level IB courses, maybe on path for the IB diploma, while student B maybe hasn't done that as much. GPA's grades similar, the higher level is going to have that advantage.
That does answer my question, actually.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, if you're taking advantage of it and you're doing well, then you may have an advantage over a student who's not. With all things similar. Fair.
Yes.
All right, that's a good answer. And for families wondering what that school profile is, it's on our website. So please check it out. Like, our school profile is posted for families to see. So go on and take a look at what that looks like, so you know how your student is being viewed within the context of the rest of the school. Okay, so in terms of admissions, are you reading for our students, or do you guys have regional readers?
Well, so yeah, to answer that question in short, yes, some. So we have designated reading assignments, and for the most part, I think so. I am regional. I actually live in Vermont.
Wow.
And so I am truly regional. And so I have an assigned group of files or applications that I read. I don't want to say 100% that I'm reading the students, from here, but I am at least somewhat involved. So we have a process where it's read by several of our staff, and so it's not just me singularly reading an application, making a decision, but it's actually we go through a process where we'll read them, several times over. So
awesome. I like to kind of demystify this admissions process a little for students. I think it's always nice to know what's happening behind the scenes. Talk to us a little bit about the essay or activities. How important in the process, your reading process, will a student's essay be, or their activity section?
Okay, so it's funny, just to jump back for a second. As I read applications, if I'm not the first person that reads them, I like to see. I will, if I'm the second, third, whatever down the line, I'll read it independently, and then I'll compare what I've noted against the prior readers. And it's interesting to me because I think everyone sort of grabs a hold of or tends towards certain pieces of the application. And to answer your question, some of that can be a little bit of a deeper dive into the essays, into the short answer questions, extracurriculars, things like that. For me personally, and I can't speak for everybody, like I said, everybody does kind of things differently. The extracurriculars that I tend toward most often are anything with leadership, anything with that's related to their major. But at the same time, I try to remain open-minded. And one of the things I tell students is, if you are involved in activities that are not related to school, that's okay. One isn't weighted better than the other, because there are students and families where the student has to work to help the family.
Right.
And I don't want that student to be penalized. The essays, what I tend to look for are well-written essays. If they tell a story, I think that's great. That always is something that I like to see a little bit more. And then the short answer questions, I think, are pretty important as well. We ask real targeted questions about the major that the students are interested in. And so I want to see a little bit more from them. The answer that says, oh, I want to study engineering because they make a lot of money. That's not an answer that I want. But anybody that offers a little bit, and I see the stuff about, like, they know about, like, research that's happening at NC State, and they know some real specifics that they cite in their answer. That's stuff that I'm like, oh, they've done their research. So I like that.
Very good. Are there any other pitfalls to the writing? Like, are there do's or don'ts that you have in terms of like an essay?
I always tell students that this is, in a lot of ways, a representation of you and your skills in writing. And so, um, I make a joke that when I was in school, sometimes when I would have a paper or an essay due, I sometimes would wait until the night before it was due to write it, and submit it and see what happened.
Yeah.
And I told students that's not the time to do this. When you're writing your college essay, it is a reflection of you because we only can see what's on paper about you and your grades and that sort of thing. But I think the essay can give us a little more depth. And so I say, have counselors, have English teachers proofread it for you and make sure it's the best writing you've ever done.
Fair. And that it's your writing.
Well, of course. Yeah.
Right. I think that's like the one piece of advice I always give. I'm like, I can tell when this has been over edited. So an admissions person can definitely tell when this has been over edited. But it needs to be proofread. Like, it should be your words. Because like you said, this is your one chance to be more than numbers on a piece of paper, right? So bring yourself to life in this essay.
Yeah.
Very good. How can a student really make themselves stand out in this admissions process? I know you said like leadership and that kind of thing. Is there anything else that really just will make you say, I really want this student here at NC State?
I think if we go beyond academics,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously that carries so much weight for us. And I think for me, I enjoy getting to meet the students. When I go out and do visits, I like to meet them. I like it when they tell me who they are and that they've applied and that they stay in touch with me. I don't have a lot of sway, and I'm not going to pretend that I do in the process. But if we're down to it and there's an opportunity that I can advocate for a student, I will. And that to me, I think is just the one thing where it can be fairly small and insignificant, but it helps. I think about a student that I've been working with since the fall, all through the year, and she's remained in contact with me throughout. And now that we're getting closer to decision time, she's front of mind. And so
Right.
it's always good. It doesn't carry a lot of weight. It's not going to make up for a student that has D's and F's on their application. And it's like, well, now that you know me, can you help me? It's like,
yeah, I totally get that. I think that's super important in humanizing this process however you can and just continuing to demonstrate your interest, whether or not a college tracks demonstrated interest.
Right. And we don't.
Yeah, and that's fair. You're too big. How could you? But like for many students, just remaining connected, I think could really make a difference. So awesome. Great piece of advice. Last question for you. You have been so good, and I really appreciate all the time you've given us. But in closing, if you could offer one piece of advice to students, in this application process, what would it be?
The first thing that comes to mind, and I feel like I need to come up with something different, but I'm going to say this anyways, and hopefully it works, is, and maybe it can, is do your homework. And in that, I mean, when I was looking at schools as a student graduating high school, of course, I told the story about the 13th grade, but some of my interest was driven by where my friends were going. And it had nothing to do with the school or major or anything like that. And there's going to be a school that's the right fit for students. And it's a matter of, the best way to sort of assess that fit is to visit. And get on campus and get a sense and a feel for the culture and the community, and really kind of ask yourself, can I be happy here? Because, your happiness is so much a part of your success. And for us, the thing that I love to talk about is our retention rate's at 94%. And I think our students get on campus, they love it, they're happy, but it's not going to be the right fit for everybody. And so, go to those schools, see them, do the virtual tours, do as much as you can, talk to current students. If that opportunity presents itself, they're going to tell you the good, the bad, and anything in between about being a student there. You look at our website, our brochures, anything like that. or any schools. There's never like rainy days in brochures. If you ever notice that, it's always like sunny and everybody's happy and everybody's smiling. And and so it's about finding the right fit for you, and it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. Just find that place where you're happy.
I think that's a beautiful piece of advice, and just staying true to yourself through the process, which can be so hard, when everybody's talking about where they want to go and the stickers on the back of the cars and the this and the that, but just remembering to like bring it back to you and where you will truly be happy. And I think you said it perfectly when you said that happiness is so much part of your success. I couldn't agree more. So thank you. Thank you so much for spending the time with us, for sharing this super valuable information with our students and families. I know they will definitely be watching and taking this into consideration. So thank you again. And hopefully we will be seeing you maybe at a visit soon.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for hosting us today. It was great to talk, and let me know.
Perfect.
All right. Bye.